Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about container blocks. These are structured blocks that are also called container blocks because they allow you to describe how your page looks like and how all the blocks are located on it. So the first block is a row. It's very important to make sure that you're clicking on the blue icon row and not on the first one that is set by default. All Greenshift blocks have a blue icon like this. So we are adding the block and then you can choose the number of columns. Later you can change their pillars, and when you choose them you can also change them from the options on the right side. In order to make it clearer, I will add a color as well. I will choose different colors for each of the columns. So let's choose red for the first one, then blue for the second one. And let's say, for example, a green for the third one. Then, if you want, you can make the block wider, like this. Or, for example, you can choose full width. If you choose full width, the content is still located centrally and it depends on the width here. There is also an option to make the content width full, and this is how your columns are going to look like. But usually you will use this one, which is boxed. So this means that your block will be on the full width, while your content will be located centrally, like this, with a width of 1200. After you have added columns, you can also choose a structure as well as a gutter. There is an option to choose already set gutter as well as a custom one. Apart from changing the gutter of the columns, you can also set a column gap and a row gap. When your columns are located like this, if you change the row gap, this option can be used also on mobile devices. And this is how it looks like. These options are available for all Gutenberg plugins. So now let's talk about some more specific options that are only available for Greenshift. These options allow you to see how your website is going to look like on different devices. So usually in plugin there are only 3 options, but here, as you can see, there are 4, because depending on your mobile device orientation, if it's horizontal or vertical, the website is going to look like a bit different. When you're adding an option from here, it will be applied to all devices. Then, if you want to change an option for a specific device, you first need to click on the type of device in structure here. So let's choose this one. This is how it looks like. And then we can change the height like this. Additionally, there are also advanced options here on the right side. And one of the options here is called responsive, where you can choose if you want to hide a block for a specific device. As in all plugins, you can choose a structure from here, and the blocks will always be 100% in total. However, there is no limitation here, and if you want, you can add a custom width, and I will show you now how it's going to look like if I add a custom width. So if I change it like this, as you can see, the block is going outside of the frame. After you change this 100% width, there will be other options available here. You can find them on the right side in the column Justify Align, and you can check all the options. Additionally, there is also another option which is called Enable Variable Width. In order to check how it works, we will add one block with 2 columns. Now the first column will take a static position, and the second one will always adjust to the first one. So usually in plugins, when percentages are used, this is impossible because the width always adjusts to the screen size, but here we can do it. So let's say for the first column, we are choosing a width of 150. And for the second column, we are using variable width. Then we click on Calc, which means calculation, and here we set 100. And for the second width, we set 170. This means that now our first column will always be 150 and the second one will take the rest place. So we can check this in preview, mobile. So the first one is 150 and the second one takes the rest. We can also check the tablet mode or a desktop one. So please know that Greenshift is the first page builder that has an option to use up-to-date design methods and calculations. And apart from calc, there is also minimum and maximum. You can check how it works in Google. Another thing that is there is an option to set typography, which is called fluid typography, and many other options that we are going to check further in this video. Let's go back to the options, and the next option that we can use is a column order. So for example, we have a blue column on the left side and a red one on the right side. But let's say that we want to change their order on mobile device so that the red column is on the top. So we just need to choose order 1 for the red column and 2 for the blue one. And this way we can change their order. It's very convenient. Also, apart from changing the horizontal alignment, you can also change the vertical one. So for example, in column position in row, we can choose central alignment for the columns. And this is how it looks like. There is also another interesting option here, and you can click on Advanced, and then you can change the position of the columns. So if you choose a sticky position, you must add some values on the top. It is not obligatory to add anything on the left side. And once you do this, one of the columns will be sticky, like this. You can apply absolutely the same for the second column. So you need to go to Advanced, then Position, and you need to change the position to sticky. And you can add here whatever you want. For example, you can add some banners or advertisement. And while scrolling it will always be located on the top. Also, it's very important to check how it's going to look like on mobile device, like here, because as you can see, the advertisement doesn't look great. So in this case, you can disable it. And to do it, you need to go to Advanced, and then you need to change the position to a static. Now, on mobile devices, the column is not going to be sticky. Also, since I have set a custom width here, always check how it's going to look like on mobile devices. So we are clicking here on General, and then we need to check. So we have clicked on Enable Variable Width here, and then you need to change the width to, let's say, 1. And as you can see, it will be located like this on the full screen. Now I would like to show you another feature of the Greenshift. So first I will need to create a block. I click on patterns and I'll choose a block from here. So let's choose this block. And now I'll show you how all the page builders work on mobile devices. So I click on preview and then I select mobile. And as you can see, all the columns will be located like this, vertically. But in Greenshift, there is an option to use Mobile Smart Scroll, which is located here on the right side. And this is how it works. So we're clicking here, and as you can see, breakpoint width is already set. This means that after this breakpoint, all the columns can be scrolled, and we're checking this now. So as you can see, we can scroll and see all the columns like this. This option is very convenient if you want to make your website on mobile device to look more like an application. And as you probably know, this option is more preferred in mobile apps instead of arranging the columns under each other. Moreover, you can use a carousel script, which is located here. And as you can see, now you can scroll using a switch. It doesn't have any CLS issues, so it is super convenient. It's very light and it weighs around 1 or 2 kilobytes. But at the same time, it has many options. Like, for example, one of the options that it has, it's autoplay. This option is located here, and it is scrolling your columns automatically, like this. Also, you can change different icons, like for example, the arrow size, like this, or a position. Or you can even change the color and so on. The next feature that I would like to show you is the option to transform the columns without changing their structure. And to check this, you need to go to Advanced Options, and then here you can see CSS Transform. This option is available not only for columns, but also for Greenshift blocks, and it allows you to add some additional transformations to our elements. So let's check how it works. Let's increase the size of the second column, but please note that here there is a small problem because our third column is located in front of our second one and it overlaps it a little bit. So in order to fix that, each block in Greenshift has also an option position, and we can choose relative position and add z-index here. So we are adding 2, and now the second column overlaps both the first one and the third one. Also, here there is an option to add transformation, not only on the element, but also on its position when the mouse cursor is on it. So let's change the scale here. So now when the mouse cursor is on it, you can notice that the column is getting bigger, like this. We can also shift it from here. So we can add some values, as well as we can rotate it from the option called rotate. Usually from the hover, it can be used rotate hover option, like this. And additionally, you can set a time from here. Or for example, if you want, you can also make the animation smoother from here. Another thing is that you can also set the indentation in each element. You can do it from here, from spacing. Or if you want, you can do it directly from the toolbar here. So here all the options are duplicated, and that's more convenient, and there is no need to search for each option on the right side. So you can easily just use the toolbar. Of course, here there are also many other options that you can use to set your borders. For example, you can add a border, then you can also add a cover, and if you want, you can also set round corners here. Also, as you can see, there are many options for shadow, and please note that in Greenshift you can set 3 types of shadows at once, and it allows you to add something like a 3D effect here. For example, let's add a position, and then let's choose a cover, and this is what we get. Here also you can find a hover option for a static position and when the mouse cursor is on it. And this is how it looks like. Also, from advanced options, here you can set a time so it looks more smoothy. And this is what we get. Also, if you want, you can add some hover shift. So let's say this one, and this is what we get. Usually it can be used like this. There are no limitations on how you're going to use it. You can add different effects, rotations, and so on. Hover option has also one specific feature. It's more for advanced users. So instead of adding an effect that is going to work when you put the mouse cursor on it, you can also add here a class of your parent's element. So let's say that in our sections, the class will be as follows: GSPB row. And this is how it's going to work. So you don't need to move the mouse cursor to the second column. When you go to the parent's element, the effect starts working. It is very helpful if you want to highlight a specific element on your page. Apart from columns section, in Greenshift there is also an element which is called container. It is an analog of the group module, but while in the group module there are not many options. So for example, as you can see here on the right side, there is only border and cover. In container, as you can see, there are much more additional options. So for example, let's add an image. So let's choose this one. And if you look on the right side, there are again not many options. You're not able, for example, to change the position, or there is no responsive option or any shadows. While if you add an image in container, as you can see, there are many options available. For example, you can add a margin. Also, in advanced options, you can change the position. Let's say we can choose an absolute position here. And this is how it's going to look like. So there are no limitations at all. Also, in containers as well as in columns, there is an option to enable flexible box content here. And this option allows you to set more detailed settings about how your elements are interacting inside of the container. So let's, for example, add several images. We will just duplicate the image that we already have here. So as you can see, they are located like this by default, but if you want, you can change their position on the page like this, for example. Also, you can set a margin for child interns. For example, we'll replace one of the images. So let's choose, for example, this one. And here we can set their position. So they can be located in the center, or for example, like this. Also, if you want, you can wrap them or unwrap them like this. Also, in container, there is an additional option, and you can add a link to the whole container so that it won't be working on separate elements, as in WordPress, for example, and instead of this, it will be applied to the whole container. And now I will show you how the option with the links works in practice. So first, we are going to remove all the spacing in one of our columns. And now we are going to add a container here, like this. We will just take all our blocks and we will put them inside of the container. Actually, it can be done very fast. So in the list view from the top, and here there will be all the elements available. It makes your navigation very simple if you, for example, have a very complex page. So what we need to do is just to take heading and move it to the container, like this. And then we do the same with the other elements, like this. But if you don't want, you don't need to move all the elements because container supports the possibility of conversion. So you can select all your blocks and then click on container in order to transform it to container. Now we can choose spacing inside of the container. So actually, as you can see, we have exactly the same block as previously, but now all our blocks are added to an additional container. And now we can add a link from here. So for example, let's add google.com. Then we need to click on update. And then we can check how it works. So now our whole container is actually a link. But we'll go even deeper and we'll add one more interesting effect, which is called background overlay. Each block has both an usual background and an overlay background, but overlay works a bit different. So instead of adding a background to the layer, it is added as a separate layer, which also can be animated. So we are adding a cover, let's say this one. We can also change the opacity of the cover. And here there is an option called hover effects. So from here we can choose many other additional effects. For example, we'll choose a shift. And it is very important when you're choosing a shift to add also an option clip overflow. This means that the layer will be hidden when it's outside of the block, and this is the effect that we get. Also, we can change the position. Or, for example, we can change the hover scale to get this effect. Or, for example, if we set a hover rotate, this is how it works. I will now show you one more interesting way of how to use overlay. So again, this is possible only in Greenshift. So I will use overlay as an image. You can choose any image. So let's, for example, add this rocket. Then we click here on No Repeat, and we'll change its position a little bit like this. Then you need to change the opacity to 0 from here, so that the image is fully invisible. And here let's add Shift of X to right, like this. And also it's very important to click on Clip Overflow No. And here in Hover Opacity, let's add 1. Also, don't forget to set an option which is called Show in Editor, so that you can check how your animation works. Because by default this option is no, so you cannot see it in Editor, and if you want to check how it works, you need to click on Yes. So let's change it to Yes. And this is how our animation works. All the containers, as most of the blocks in Greenshift, can be animated. There is an option which is called Animation in Advanced, here. Moreover, there is an option which is called GSAP Animation Library. However, this option is not free of charge, and you need to pay for it if you want to use it. It has also many different options, and one of them is to animate all the children elements by clicking only once. We can also click on this option, which is Enable Child Animations, and this is the animation that we get. But we'll talk about this later. That's all for today. God bless you and your sites, and see you in the next video.